Redefined. I am here with a very special guest, LAQUON S. Johnson. He is a very good friend of mine, and he is a very, very talented and straightforward writer. Also, he is the host of an incredibly successful podcast. LAQUON, what's the name of the podcast?
The podcast is called Motivational Motives on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, just search Quan John, QUONJOHN. If you search Quan John, it'll take you straight to Motivational Motives, the podcast.
And the book also is Motivational Motives.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yes. Motivational Motives. Amazing book. Absolutely amazing. I really did enjoy it. I've got my signed copy right here.
Thank you.
Now, okay, let's first of all, let's cover you,
Sure.
what you do, and then we'll get into this amazing book. Now, you are a counselor.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. When did you decide to get into counseling?
I mean, that's actually a funny story. I mean, I actually didn't decide it. It decided for me. You know, I'm actually a person with a visual impairment by the name of Stargardt's disease. Stargardt's is STARGARDTS is a genetic eye disorder that only affects minute people in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically my parents carried the gene. Okay, they came together. I'm an only child. I was actually blessed and graced with the impairment of having legal blindness. And I say blessed because had I not been a person with a disability, quote unquote, or an impairment, I wouldn't be a counselor today. So I think when I went to school, you know, I was going for like, I was one of them guys where I changed majors 5 times. First, I was into hospitality. Then I was into business management. Then I was into criminal justice. And then I stumbled across a psychology class. And I said, I'm on to something right here, right? So after taking that psychology class, I said, all right, at first I wanted to be a psychologist. But when I learned how much time you had to spend in school, I said, all right.
Oh, so, yes. Okay.
Right. So after I finished my undergrad at Lehman College, I actually was sponsored by the Commission for the Blind and Visually Handicapped to go to school. So after I finished my schooling, it actually took me 6 years to finish my, I got my associates in 2 years, and then I transferred to a CUNY school. But when I transferred to the CUNY school, they didn't take any of my credits, okay? They took my associate's degree, but they didn't take my credits, all right? And I was pissed, and I was ready to give up, but I didn't, okay? So I went to Lehman College, 0 credits, and basically I had to do the whole 4 years, okay? So it took me 6 years to actually graduate, obtain the bachelor's degree, as opposed to 4, you know what I mean? It took me 6 years. But what I would find out is that I needed that extra 2 years, okay? So when I got to my junior year at Lehman College, I was a peer mentor in the counseling center, okay? And that was my last 2 years of school. Had I not had that extra 2 years of schooling, I would not sit before you today. So when I knocked on the door of the counseling center and became one of their best peer mentors, if I do say so myself, right. I said, you know what? This is what I want to do for a living. I mean, you know, I actually want to, I want to sit on the other side of the table because I'm a naturally empathetic person. And I think that's one of the attributes that all counselors must have. So I would say when I became a peer mentor within the counseling center at Lehman College, that's when I knew counseling was for me.
Excellent. And I love this story. And you know what? You're not alone. A lot of people do this transfer thing. A lot of people will change from one major to the next. Those few years, those extra few years sometimes end up really putting you on the right path. So I do appreciate you sharing that. And I appreciate you being so positive and enthusiastic about that.
Yeah.
And also thank you for sharing with us about your visual impairment, because you are very successful and you are an excellent example that, you know what? Hey, when you put your mind to it, you can do it, which is exactly what this show is all about, and which is exactly what your writing is all about.
Thank you.
For those of you who just tuned in, Motivational Motives. I'm not going to give too much of it away, but when did you decide to embark? Because writing, now listen, writing a book is not easy.
Not easy.
So when did you decide to embark on all of this? I
mean, during this pandemic, man. And I say this pandemic has served as a blessing and a curse for me. You understand? You know, I think it was around March 19th. That's when CUNY closed down, and we started working remote from home. And this is a time where I really had to get my stuff together, for lack of a better word. You know, because I have 2 young children at home. I have an 8-year-old, 3-year-old, right?
Mhm.
So at this time, I wouldn't say I was living a very productive life. You know what I mean? Just to self-disclose what I was going through internally and emotionally and personally, I wasn't. So I said to myself, hey, you're gonna be at home with your babies every day, 24/7. They can't feel the brunt of your emotional disturbance that you're experiencing. So I took it upon myself to get my stuff together. I actually stopped smoking through it during
Wow.
the pandemic. I actually stopped drinking, and I actually got my physique in tip-top shape, right? So I did that for like the first 2.5 months. So when June rolled around, I read a book by the rapper 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson. I read a book by the name of Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. And after I read that book, I said, I can do this, because basically I took a piece of what 50 did. I said, you know what he did? He gave you blurbs of his life, right? He gave you like snapshots of his life. And after he gave you a snapshot, he gave you a concise analysis of what he went through, how he dealt with it, and you know what his present day objective is with this dilemma. You know what I mean? So that's what I did with Motivational Motives. I started writing, and I never looked back after that.
Well, plug the book one more time. The inspiration for your book. Say it again.
The inspiration for my book was when I read the book Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter.
Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. I'll check it. I love the title. Yeah.
It's an excellent book, because he shows basically how he went from poverty and how he went from the urban area to a successful businessman, and he shows the tribulations that he went through en route to this prosperity, man. You know, it was a rocky road, but like, I'm a firm believer through it that bad things happen for good reasons all day, every day.
Let me jump in right now, but you're saying bad things happen for good reasons, because this is what I liked about this book. Now I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit, because when I first got the book in the mail and you sent me the copy that I've got, I was like, okay, great. Now it's gonna be step 1 is this, step 2 is that. That is, I was very surprised and very happy. This book is really based on case studies.
That's right.
And then you actually are learning from these individuals that you presented in this book.
Right.
So it is not I do want to say to the audience, this is not a step 1, step 2 how-to book. This is a writer sharing experiences he has had, and how he can share his profession, and learned a skill of counseling now into writing to motivate other people. And that is wonderful. So what is the overall message you wanted to, because I'm the reader, so that's what I got from the book. Now, what did you what did you want us to learn from the book?
Thank you. I mean, I kind of got ahead of myself, but what I said earlier, bad things happen for good reasons. Yeah. That's what I want the readers to understand. And I'll use myself, for instance, as I said earlier, had I not be blessed with this impairment of legal blindness, I would not sit before you today. This legal blindness actually makes me who I am, you know what I mean? And I actually counsel students with disabilities for LaGuardia Community College, and that's what I tell them. Embrace your impairment, okay? If you embrace it, it will become a strength, okay? It's you know what it's doing? It's actually building the armor necessary for the bigger tribulations and the bigger trials that you're gonna have in life, okay? And you're gonna need this armor, you know? You're gonna need that umbrella to protect you from the pouring rain, you know? So actually, your weakness is actually your strengths, so, you know what I mean? So this book teaches you how the characters utilize their dilemma and their inevitable negative set of circumstances to basically, you know, help them become stronger and more positive role models to themselves. Because I teach people, you're not proving yourself to no one else. First, you have to prove yourself to thyself. Once you prove yourself to thyself, it's easier to come across to people as being an authentic person. But if you're not, if you haven't proved that to yourself yet, you're going to come off as a fraud and as a fake to others. Okay? So once you can look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, yeah, I'm LaQuON Johnson. Yeah, I do have a visual impairment. You know what I mean? But you know what? I also have X, Y, and Z and A, B, C, and D positive attributes on my resume. All right? So, you know, bad things happen for good reasons. We should actually embrace these bad moments, okay? Because, you know, I say that you're gonna get something out of it. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's at your perspective. It's about perspective.
Great message. Great message. And again, for those people who are just turning in, it's called Motivational Motives.
Motivational motives. Motivational motives.
S. Johnson, great book, great read. Now, now listen, I'm not going to give too much of the book away, but one of my favorite case studies, chapters, you know how you have the book laid out here, emotional ricochet effect. That I really got into it.
Right.
It almost read like a story. Great message.
Yeah.
Now, what is that? What is the emotional ricochet?
Well, let's speak about the story of emotional ricochet effect. It's about two friends that come from different sides of the totem pole, for lack of a better word. Okay, one friend, his mom is she encourages education and things of that nature. Other friend, his mom is she's not a disciplinarian, and she really lets him do what he wants. And of course, they're raised in two different atmospheres. Okay, all right, so they become really friends because of a common interest. And but they have discrepancies and quarrels because this friend over here is trying to embrace positivity onto this other guy, but the other guy, he's not really hearing it. He's not at the point in time in his life where he wants to be taught, because he hasn't been raised in this type of household. Okay, so you know, unbeknownst to the positive guy, the negative guy, let's call him, he sets this guy up to be robbed. Yeah. But he only wants him to be robbed just to so he can see a sign of weakness. He doesn't want him to be hurt. That's not his intention. His intention is basically so he can see fear in the guy's eye. All right.
They planned a scheme to go get some drugs or something. Is that
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. He bumps into another guy that he knew from the neighborhood, and he said, "Hey, I know this guy that has a lot of drugs in his home," which wasn't true. Okay. That was not true. So he lied to his co-conspirator also. He lied to him so he can have the courage to go into this guy's home. All right. So they mustered up the courage to knock on the guy's door. And unbeknownst to the robbers, the guy wasn't afraid. Okay. He came to the door. He wasn't afraid. He thought it was some sick joke. All right. So about after 2 or 5 minutes of going back and forth, you know what I mean? He finally realizes, oh, they're not playing, because they're waving guns in his face. And he grabs the guy. He grabs one of the guns, right? He grabs the gunman, and he almost has him on the ground. And if he would have taken this gun away from this guy, he would have shot everyone. But before he did that, one of the other gunmen shot him in his head, okay? Mm-hmm. You know, and as I'm a firm believer in a higher power. There is a God, and this guy did not die, okay? The doctors told him if it had been like a half an inch or centimeter to the right, it would have hit his brain, which would have been his demise. Okay, right. So
it would have got.
He never knew.
Also, it was his navel. He was lucky in both areas. You speak of his brain, but also his nasal cavity or something like that.
But it went through his nasal cavity.
Up
to his brain.
Ooh, yes. Okay. It was
he did not.
Very good.
You know something? This is the funny thing about that story, Truett. That the positive guy, he knew his friend orchestrated it. He knew. Mm-hmm. And to this day, they are actually still okay friends. Now, what the negative guy did, because, you know, he put himself through a lot of trauma. Okay, so he ran and fled to another state, because that's what cowards do. They run when they can't get their way. They run away. So he went to another state, and he actually orchestrated the same type of crime to a young lady that was a known drug dealer. Okay, same type of crime, but this one had a very I can't. It actually almost brings a tear to my eye to even say it. This young lady actually died during the robbery, and she left 2 children behind her. Okay, while this guy is still walking the streets, but he's actually living in his own mental prison. Okay, so the notion and of the emotional ricochet effect is whatever energy you put out there to the world, it will ricochet and back and come hit you. All right. So if I put out positive energy, it will ricochet back to me. and I will have a positive outcome. If I put out negative energy and an energy of fear, it will go out there and it will ricochet and come right back to me. So basically, our emotional instability or stability, I mean, it's like the mirror. It's like a mirror. You know, when we look into this world, it's like looking into the mirror. If I walk out this door with the positivity and the optimism of a king, okay, I will be blessed like a king. I will be treated like a king. But if I go out here like a common criminal and a coward, I'm going to receive the the benefits, quote unquote, for as a coward would.
Well, listen, everybody watching, for more great stories and to learn from these case studies, please go buy the book, Motivational Motives. The book is full of great stories, case studies and you can learn from. I really enjoyed it. You know, LAQUON, it has been a pleasure. As we leave 2020, go into 2021, I want to ask one final question. What, and of course, it's been very motivational just speaking to you as always. I think this is the perfect holiday show, depending on when you're watching it. I don't care if it's June of whatever, it's still a great show, and it's still a holiday show for me.
Absolutely. Yes.
But at the end of the day, what do you want this book to say about you?
I mean, that's a very good question, because I developed an acronym. Well, I have a few acronyms, but the one for the book is, what's your MRI? Okay, and we all know what an MRI is, right? I mean, MRI, that's a closer look to inside the body, right? That's an MRI. But the MRI for motivational motives is, what's your motivational reasoning for your initiative? Okay, and during this pandemic, that's what I had to sit back and ask myself. All right, LAQUON Johnson, what's really going on? What do you really want to do with your life? Who are you really? And what do you want to exhibit and exemplify to the public? Okay, so the motivational reasoning for initiative is something that everyone, especially 18 to 30-year-olds, because that's who the book targets, 18 to 30-year-olds, you really have to be specific about what your initiative is. Why am I going to college? Why am I taking this major? Should I be taking this major? Why am I going to this job? Why is this person my friend? You know what I mean? Am I getting married to the right person? Do I want to have children? We have to be very intentional in our questions to ourselves, because if you're not intentional, you know what I mean, that means anything can happen to you. So it's about what's your motivational reasoning for your initiative. So I had to step back and ask myself, LAQUON Johnson, what is your MRI? And when I got the answer, that's when Motivational Motives came out.
Well, listen, once again, congratulations. LAQUON, it really is a good book. And I'm not just saying this because you're my friend, but I really did enjoy it. I'll definitely refer to it. I'll definitely use it as I move forward. And what can I say? All the best in 2021.
And I just want the viewers to know, real quick, Troy, that it's coming out in audio very soon. I mean, like probably this week. It's going to be on Amazon. It's going to be on iTunes and Audible. Okay.
But they can get it in They can get it on Amazon now, though, in paper.
Right, but they can get that in paperback and Kindle. But an audio version is coming out.
Yes, you're saying like now, like within a few days.
Right, within a few days, an audio version that was narrated by a guy by the name of Spencer LaBelle. Great guy, created my book. It's going to be on iTunes. It's going to be on Audibles, and you can get it through Amazon.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, everybody go check it out. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Salute you, Dr. Wagner. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.